Welcome back to day 21 of our journey to 2000 ELO on chess.com. We're currently on a bit of a losing streak here. Let's see if we can turn it around today and get a win. So we're starting off at 1542. We've got an opponent, E. Ottosson from Iceland. You know what? Let's just proceed. I should know this. Let's just say I said Sweden and not Iceland. We have a Slav defense. Let's go for the modern line. Modern line stuff is all good here. Wondering what we'll see. We've seen a few moves in this position. Curious to see which one our opponent opts for. We see a Slav defense like this, a triangle system, which it's apparently called. And now, can we come out here maybe? I think this might still be playable, and if this is played, we still have this, and we should be in an okay spot trying to win back the pawn. So let's develop this. We transpose into a Queen's Gambit declined for a brief second before coming back into this semi-Slav defense. Opening names seems to change a whole lot this game. Okay, so we could pin here this, and typically speaking we've figured out the knight can jump here and it could get a bit annoying. Let's say we go here and this is played. I think this is oftentimes a good move, and then if our opponent wants to kick us out, they would have to induce this weakness, f6, and then we could drop back and open up our rooks if we should want to. I think I'd like to play like this game at least. Typically I like the more active bishop as opposed to, for example here, playing e3, connecting our pawns immediately and opening up this bishop to protect this pawn. Our opponent's bishop comes out to d6. Now I think we can pin the knight. And this could be played coming back. It's probably an okay move. I didn't quite want to trade there, but most likely this was okay as well, coming back to g3, and if our opponent was taking there, we could have opened up our rook. Definitely a possibility. Didn't quite go for it there though. Let's go on ahead here and continue developing. Trying not to spend too long here. Now this is opened up. We could maybe get our bishop onto this diagonal if we should want to do so. Don't quite think we ever have this. Although it could have been interesting seeing how it would play out, but for the time being we can't quite do so because of this is what I was going to say, but this knight is in fact pinned. So this could have been interesting, and we could have seen some kind of position like this, which honestly seems quite intriguing. Then we might have come back here. If we get this, and where do we go from here? We could take, of course, and our opponent could take as well. We could push this pawn, but I don't think it does a whole lot. The bishop just comes back and the position becomes difficult to open up. I think we'll be moving the bishop up, in fact, trying to induce this move perhaps, and then I think we have some pawn imbalance, which you guys should know at this point is something I like to play with. I definitely like some imbalance to create some interesting gameplay and some more chances of winning. Okay, so what does this bishop do? It has to get developed at some point. Alternatively, this could be played, but it would force this, I think, opening up the king, which, judging by our ELO and experiences thus far, players at this rating range do not typically like opening up their king like that. Although it might even be good, probably not, but there is some compensation at least, I think, in terms of, well, maybe not actually. I guess the bishop here and the king could slide on over there and come in like this. Not quite sure. We'll see what happens though. Currently at least we've got all of our minor pieces developed, which is nice to see. This knight here is well defended. If we got a pawn to e5 we would be really happy. That's not happening though. We can't take because of the knight, I just realized, so never mind that. But now there is some pressure down towards this pawn on h2. This could have been interesting, but it's only really interesting if this is played. If we take here, this could be played as well. Taking with the knight. For the time being we don't have to worry about this pawn because this is defended twice. We could castle, I think. I'd like to take this now. Kind of figure out what's happening in this position. I'm expecting this to be played. The knight getting a bit centralized, but maybe then we can push the pawn and grab some space. We'll have to see. Could also take here and force some kind of pawn structure, which could be interesting. But our opponent takes like this, and what do we opt to do here? We can't go here now because of this pawn still being present. Could jump in here though. We can't quite make a threat down here with the bishop and queen because this knight will replace this other knight if we take. So maybe just castling. I think it's probably an okay idea here. Making a waiting and improving move. After all, I have gotten some feedback recently that I've delayed my castling a bit too much in a few games. Okay, the rook comes on over. This pawn, not quite likely to fall for the time being, but this, honestly I don't quite know how good this file is. It is semi-open, but this pawn here can't easily be targeted, although the idea might be to swing around here and create some kind of an attack with more pieces. So how about we just come up with our queen a bit, creating some potential long-term threats here, connecting our rooks and seeing what our opponent's up to. So EO, E. Ottosson from Sweden and not Iceland. I'm curious now as to whether the flags are similar or not, but honestly I should definitely know the Swedish flag. I knew the second I read it, but it is how it is. Sometimes you just make some bizarre mistakes, is what I'd call it. It's currently a bit difficult, I think, to make good development plans for our opponent. One thing they could be looking at would be something like this, but instead they jump in with this knight. And now I think we might have the option here of taking this, followed by this perhaps. And then we get the pawn, and this is not a problem, I don't think. So let's see this, and then what's the knight doing? I'm guessing it just has to come back, and we are up a pawn there. And the king is exposed at least a bit for our opponent. Yeah, I think we'll do it. I'm not really seeing any reasons why we wouldn't. This move is not quite possible, I don't think. Let's say we go here and this is played. Then, of course we could take the knight as well, but even if we didn't, we could go like this, this, and this, and well, the king there is just so open, it's about game over, I'd say. Okay, so the king slides on over. I'm not seeing any threats the knight can come with, so let's just kick it out. I had a look at all the different moves here, I didn't really see anything that worried me. This, and we could even take and open up a bit more stuff here, but then the rook here could get in, perhaps. Okay, so this is surprising. Didn't quite consider this option, but we just take the bishop checks us, we slide on over, and then what? I think the response, or the answer there rather, is not a whole lot for our opponent at least. We'll slide over. This shouldn't really accomplish anything. But we will have to evacuate this bishop though, at least I think so. Oh, it's played? Well, I think we'll just be coming up now then. This shouldn't be difficult. The king is as open as can be now, and we've got some pieces. This rook looking a bit weak. Most likely going to be moved, could come here maybe, but then it would be checkmate in one. How about this move? A major threat here I'm realizing is something like this. We can't play it just now because of the knight, but if the knight didn't intercept it, this would have been checkmate. So this is looking really bad for our opponent. We've got ideas like coming down here as well, and just maybe dislocating our opponent's king ever so slightly. So 3 pawns for a bishop. Most of the time I'd say it's quite equal in terms of material, if that's the case, but let's be honest here, the 3 pawns served a pretty crucial purpose here of defending our opponent's king. We could come here maybe, but I don't quite want to open up our king like we did to our opponent. And then this pawn here would fall maybe if we have to take with this pawn, but it could maybe help us get our rook into the game and create a threat down here. Because if one of our pawns was gone, well, we've suddenly got 10 points of material waiting to just join the action at any given time. And this bishop, not quite in the game. Oh, this has to be bad. We've got this move right, and then what does our opponent play? They've got one move blocking with the queen, and we've got checkmate. Let's play it. This looks quite optimistic. I'm only saying optimistic because there might still be something I'm missing, because sometimes I just do right, but not quite here. We got the win today, and we got our checkmate. So I'll be saying thanks for the game to our opponent. Well played to them. A really interesting game with the imbalance there for a second. Let's jump ahead here and analyze the game. So today we played 96.1. Well, that's quite nice. Following our losing streak, our opponent played with 70.4. Let's just go through the review here. This is all normal stuff here. This wasn't all that good, to be honest. But I thought it still looked pretty okay. This was the best move, which honestly I expected, mentioned this was probably okay as well, but I like this diagonal a whole lot oftentimes in the Slav, and it tends to give us some good positions. In this position, this is apparently bad because of this move, and honestly I don't know why the difference is so big right here. I guess the piece is maybe not active enough. Let's try and follow the alternative line then. If we come here, why can't our opponent take? This is the same thing, or so you'd think. It's because of this. Okay, I see. We abuse this pin here and create some complications that should work out in our favor. Should have taken, but it's 0.1 difference. I like maintaining pressure and pieces. We shuffled around for a bit here, got into a decent position. Played a lot of decent moves quickly, I'd say. Got the pawn. This was good. I would have never played g3. although I can definitely see why it's a good move. It blocks this for all the eternity, but yeah, honestly, it's a pretty decent move, I think, the more I look at it, but still this does the deal. We capture, slide on over, and this is essentially where the game ends. At this point, I think this was the best move, right? Just sliding on over like this, but it's just really difficult here to play the game for black. You can't do a whole lot. Apparently we're supposed to go here, and I don't quite see the concrete line. The computer wants to apparently repeat moves for a couple of moves. This seems good though. And best move for our opponent is actually sacrificing the rook here, which is kind of funny. Can they keep the rook? What happens if they try to do so? Let's say this play is played. Okay, there is just a mated one. So yeah, it's just difficult to defend here, and we got the checkmate here on move 19 today. So that's a bit quick for today. I'm realizing here we're at 16 minutes. So honestly, let's jump through here and play something along the lines of 3 puzzles, just to improve the tactical vision, which has been a bit lackluster as of late. Okay, so first of all, seems like we've got equal material. We can't take here because of checkmate. This is definitely an idea, I think. But I'd like to be looking for a checkmate here, perhaps. Do we have something like this? Opening up the scope towards the king. I don't quite see what we'd be doing here. Yeah, I definitely don't see what we'd be doing in this position. We've got the squares covered. Oh, I see. It's this, this, and this then. The bishops cover the squares. This looks good. Didn't see the bishop would be protected by the rook, but there it is. And we got our first puzzle. Black to move here. Seems like we've got equal material. We've got a nice outpost here, and there is pressure towards this pawn, which is also quite well defended. Can we take this is the first thing I'm looking at, because there is this, and the game seems to simplify a bit in this position. A rook, a knight for a queen. Doesn't seem like a promising endgame. I wouldn't quite say so, at least. There might be something I'm missing. This at least seems quite forced. This line. We could see this, 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 and even just dodging us, because the queen is covering this rook. Oh no, never mind. Then we still have 2 rooks in that case. Okay, so let's see at this. Look at this instead. Do we have any way of winning material tactically here? First of all, if the king comes down, this seems to win the queen. Okay, that's a good start. How about if the king comes up? Do we have anything concrete here? Honestly, I don't quite know there. It's a bit difficult to say, but the king seems a bit exposed at least. Maybe with the rook here, we could come in with the knight. Oh no, not quite. Then it's taken by the queen. This, 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 this. Let's say this is played. I don't really see any promising moves there, so let's first of all just have a quick look at other moves instead of following the line there, which we looked at initially. It's what came to mind initially for me at least, but it's not necessarily the best move in the position. Our knight here, we can't quite jump into any places. Our queen is hanging, but we can't really get our queen to any good squares, I don't think. Can't go here, can't go here. This, all of the moves lose the queen. this loses the queen, so either we go here or we come all the way back, and that's not really in the style of a puzzle, and definitely not a good move in general, I don't think, having to play that defensively. So I think we'll be trying to follow this line, which seems to be the best move. And now we have to find out why this was good. This isn't necessarily the best practice, not fully calculating the puzzles, but I thought I'd try it just now because it seemed like we had a pretty decent move there. We didn't really have anything else, it seemed like. So what do we do in this position? We can't go here because of this. We could take the pawn. Does it accomplish anything? Maybe not. How about this? Hits the queen a bit. When this is probably the idea, right? Because now the queen can't go here. It can't go here, can't go here, and it can't go here. If it goes this way... Okay, so it's got those two squares afterwards. What happens if we go here then? This. Do we have a follow-up move? We can't quite fork the pieces. Doesn't seem like it. This. I don't think we should be moving our knight just yet. I think this is probably the move, it's just I can't quite see how it works out well for us. We could go here maybe. This looks like a check. The king is forced over to this square. Problem here is we would like the knight to be in this square and not the rook, so we could fork the pieces. Doesn't quite work though. Maybe we could just start taking pawns there and coming up the board. I think we'll be trying this first, and apparently it's so bad for our opponent. The queen takes. This isn't really good practice. Let's go here and look at why this was the case. And when I'm saying good practice here, I don't mean it's not good practice for us. It's not a good practice in general, not calculating the lines. Okay, so the king comes here, and why? Why can't the queen come here, for instance? Why is this so bad? H(x)(g4. So apparently it is this move where we take. I guess our threat is, yeah, we've got a 2-move combination here. Just coming up the board and threatening to make a queen. I guess that's probably the case in either move order, and or if the queen is here or not. Here we hit the queen immediately, and on this square it would have been a fork. Okay then. Oh, this wasn't my intention. Let's come back to the puzzles and do a third and last puzzle for today. Okay, so what am I seeing? We're down a piece now. There is a threat down here. Our opponent's king is open. And what I'm realizing is we might have a maneuver, like, not like this rather. This is a really first move. The king has to go here, and we might have this move. Would be interesting to see what happens there. If takes, we can go to this square. The king would be here then. It can't come up, so it would have to slide on over. And it seems really exposed. Maybe we could go to this square. The king has to escape this way. But then I think the king has escaped. Most likely it's going to be this. We don't really have any other tactics. This. Was looking at this move, but this seems to stop us. At least long enough for this to become a real threat. So I think we'll be going here. The bishop blocks actually, which I didn't quite see this. This is actually a good defense even, because it prevents us from coming down this way. We'll take though. The king comes down this way, and I think we still have the idea here of coming up with the pawn. Simply to get this, and in this position I think we've got pretty decent activity there with the queen, and the king seems kind of semi-trapped. Because we don't have any other checks, we don't have any ways of getting to g2 to prevent the checkmate, and there is a checkmate on h2 even. So let's push the pawn, opening up this square for the queen. And now we have to be a bit careful, because the best move might very well be this pawn push. It's either this or this, but I think most likely we would like to get into the game here with more pieces. And if takes, I think we're probably quite happy. The king, maybe it could go here. I don't think we can just take, and the king is entirely exposed. This, and if the king slides on over, what do we do there? Can we go this way? But then the king comes here, and that's maybe a bit difficult. This. Oh, there is this. Oh no, we can't push the pawn once again. How about this move? No, it doesn't work because of the checkmate, so we have to make or come up with a check here. That seems to work. This, I don't like how the king has this square available as an escape square. Oh, but there is this move, which I didn't see, and this is a checkmate, so this has to be the move. Let's do one fourth and last game, or puzzle rather, today, and see how we get about doing this. Equal material it seems, 2 minor and 2 major pieces for each player, but our opponent has got 4 more pawns. We've got pressure, the king has got 0 squares, which seems quite promising. Can we go here? Does it do anything? Honestly, not quite sure there. How about this move? This comes with a threat here of checkmating with the rooks, so this bishop can't be captured. So if we do take with a rook, and this is played, I wanted to look for something like this. But then the rook just comes back, doesn't quite work. How about this, and this? That's a check. The king has to go here. But we can't quite come up with the bishop because our own bishop intercepts or interrupts our connection there. Can we double up like this with the rooks? Or do we go for the immediate check, inducing this idea? Oh, yeah, that's the move. We go here, forcing this, coming back, the rook has to come back, and we have a checkmate, because this is opened up. Yep, there we go. 4 in a row. And improving our tactical vision here whenever we have the spare time to do so. So, well, that's about it for today's video. Thanks to our opponent for the game today. Thanks for watching to the end of the video, guys, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.